Human life is the one place where we can really get to work to understand who we really are and stop identifying so much with who we're not. And that is liberation. Mostly we are controlled by our ego, but our ego is blind and really pretty stupid. And so we suffer. But, as I say, the good news is that that's not our true nature. And the thing is that, if you talk about enlightenment, then it sounds like, the summit of Everest. But it isn't. The nature of the mind is the nature of our mind. It's here right now, this very moment. The only problem, it's like the sky, it's always there, but we get caught up in all the clouds. We don't see the sky, but the clouds couldn't be there if it wasn't for the sky. And so the sky, the space around the thoughts, we only see the thoughts, we don't see the space. But the space is always there. The thoughts couldn't be there if it wasn't for the space. The clouds couldn't be there if it wasn't for the sky. So it's not that we have to create something we don't have. What we have to do is recognize what is right there in front of us, but we don't see it because you can't grasp it. Do you understand? If you come in here, if I said to you, what was in here, in this auditorium, you would say, well, there was a stage, and there was a chair, and there was ferns, and then there were all these stairs and seats and people, and lights and a screen. But actually what there is space. None of this could exist if it were not for space. Right? And even this oh-so-solid table is ultimately space. Right? Quantum physics, this is why His Holiness the Dalai Lama is so fascinated by quantum physics. Because it's saying exactly what Buddhist philosophy has been saying for thousands of years. And so His Holiness says, they say to His Holiness, how could you know all this if you don't have machines? And His Holiness says, how could you know all this? You don't meditate. So the point is that, we don't see space because you can't see it, you can't grasp it, you can't taste it and touch it. But nothing could exist without it. And in fact, everything, taken down to the nth degree, is space. So likewise in the mind, all the thoughts and feelings we have only arise because of our pure awareness. The fact that you can hear me and see me and think about it is because you're aware. You're conscious, right? We're all conscious. But because we're so busy thinking, we are not conscious of being conscious. You understand? Right? So first, in meditation, we have to learn how to recognize that awareness. So this is where mindfulness comes in. You're mindful of your body, you're mindful of your breath, we're mindful of the mind. But then that awareness of the mind, always it has an object, right? We are mindful of this, we're mindful of that, we're mindful of something else. It's always an object to the mindfulness. But then if we drop the object, then all we have is awareness. And we're aware of being aware. Do you understand? The point is to become conscious of being conscious. Without necessarily, if there is an object, that's okay, but that's not what we're focusing on. The importance is not the object, the importance is the awareness. And so, in this way we go back into a much deeper level of non-dual awareness, where there is an awareness without necessarily having any object of awareness, just awareness. Then that is like, you see, you're part of that spacious, open presence. Then whatever comes into the field of that awareness is observed, is known, but it can pass out again. It's like we have a Teflon mind. Nothing sticks. right? Normally our minds are very sticky. Sticky with attachment or sticky with aversion. You know, they're like Velcro, you know, all little hooks, and it catches on everything. So what we need is to have this Teflon mind where nothing, everything passes through, but nothing sticks there. So then there's a clarity. And we see things as they are instead of how we're interpreting it continually to ourselves. And far from being a dumb state or a neutral state, it's a very vivid, open state. It's like suddenly waking up. And we wake up and we recognize we've been dreaming. Up to now, we've always thought our dreams were real. Now we recognize that, no, that's not real. That was just a dream. Now we're awake. And so there's an open, spacious clarity to the mind, which is our natural state. And it's not dependent on external happenings or internal. We just see everything coming. It's like watching a movie and knowing it's a movie. You can enjoy the movie, but we don't believe it. I mean, if the hero dies halfway through, you know, we don't go out and commit suicide. But, you know, we know he's going to appear in the next movie, so, you know, no big deal. So like that, you know, what we're trying to do is to recognize our innate awareness. And this is why the human realm is so important, because this is the one realm where we can do that. And once we really recognize the nature of the mind, the luminous clarity and empty nature of the mind, then if we sustain that, we are well on the way to liberating the mind and breaking out of the wheel. Amen. So, yes, so the whole point of this is to go beyond it and to break it. You know, I mean, this is endlessly circling, and we have to go beyond that to the Buddha, who is pointing to the moon, which is the moon of our innate, clear and empty awareness, consciousness. Okay, so are there any questions relevant to this subject? Could you comment on that? Yeah, well, I mean, of course, a topic, in fact, somebody just yesterday asked me that question in relationship to herself. And basically, I have to admit, I said, you know, in the end, it's up to you. Because she had the kind of disease that she knew that in the end she would have extraordinary amount of pain which they would not be able to deal with, and it wasn't going to kill her for a long time. So, I mean, on the one hand, you can say, oh, well, wonderful, lie there and do, you know, tonglen, you know, giving and receiving. But on the other hand, you know, you have to think this is a very, very difficult situation which someone is going to have to face. And I am no authority to say. Of course, from a strictly traditional Buddhist point of view, euthanasia would be killing, and it would be killing a human being, which is an extremely negative karma. But on the other hand, at the same time, I think we have to deal with the intention and the state of mind at the time of performing this action. I mean, after all, one is taking one's own life, and although it is on one level suicide, on the other hand, there are good reasons for it. It's taken as a mature motivation, not from despair and depression, but because there's a feeling that at the end you might end up worse than while you are still relatively strong. And that, if you do, like if you took some kind of drug, I guess they take some kind of pills or something, and if you died with, the aspiration to be reborn in a pure land or something, or kept your Lama's mind or the thinking of the Buddhas or whoever you have devotion to in your mind, that would be very different from committing suicide out of total despair and hatred of everybody. So I cannot say. I mean, my feeling personally, and it's totally personal because it's not what the Buddhist view probably traditionally would be that it is a matter of your choice. But that if you do decide to do that because there is no other way, because of that, not just you're going to die suffering, but if your suffering is going to be really very long and extended, and it's not going to, you're not going to kill you very soon, then I guess, provided that you really think it through and maybe ask, someone that you really trust, if they give you permission to do that, then I think it's up to you. But I mean, as I say, this is very controversial, and it's just my opinion. It's not, it's not Buddha Vachana. So.
Sorry, again, related to a life-threatening, I'm over here.
Okay.
If one's diagnosed with a very serious illness and on a similar vein, and then how do we recognise in our own minds if we're indifferent or in denial, or whether we have a state of equanimity in our minds? It's hard to recognise that state.
Start the first sentence again.
If you're, say, diagnosed with a very serious illness, which is...
for example.
Yes,
yeah.
for example, me.
Yeah.
And you say something to yourself like, oh, well, it's got to happen to someone, and you're quite genuine in that view, and you don't get stressed, and you simply go with it. How do you know if that attitude that you seem to have developed is one of indifference and denial, or whether, as you spoke before, it's one of equanimity, which, of course, is what one would hope you are feeling?
Well, I think time would tell. If you were just thinking that because you were suppressing your own actual fear by pretending to yourself that it was okay, and this is all karma and we've all got to go anyway, so what? And if you were just saying that to yourself because you didn't want to face the problems that you were having with the existential question of dying, then I think in the time you would soon find that you didn't feel a sort of inner tranquility, that it would start coming up in various ways. I think if you really, truly have a sense of equanimity and acceptance, which is based on acceptance, right? Genuine acceptance, then you would feel almost an inner joy. It wouldn't be blank. It would be a sense of inner peace and joy. That you would know that this is genuinely, you are holding it in very gently and not allowing yourself to be troubled by it. I think and in the short term it might seem like the same thing, but in the end it would be a very, very different state of mind.